Part 3 of our series, how to make a thing. How to make a wood shop. Part 3. Hey! There he is. Oh, good Lord. We're doing the tour. Part 1, we went over the facility itself, the size of the facility, the electrical, the pneumatic, the vacuum, dust collection. Yep. Part 2, milling. We learned how to make big rectangles.
And lots of them.
S4S. We are on to part 3, Rocky 3. What was your favorite Rocky movie? 1, 2, 3.
I thought 2 was pretty good. 2.
Is that when he fought the Russian?
I think so.
That was the good one.
Oh wait, was that 3?
Was that 3 or was that 2? I don't know. Anyway,
they're all good.
Great.
They're all so
They're
good.
all fantastic.
Yeah.
Cue the Rocky music. Shaping the wood, subtractive manufacturing. What do you think, Johnny?
What do you want to do? You want to do molder, M&T, CNC?
I think so, but I don't know the order, because they can go in any order at this point.
Yeah.
I would start with CNC. CNC, what's CNC stand for?
Computer numerical control? Something like that. Yeah.
I think it's computer numerical control. Let's ask Mr. Potato. Mike, pop quiz. What does CNC stand for?
Computer numerical control.
Boom!
Nailed it.
That means that a computer is moving the cutter.
Technically, a servo motor is moving the cutter with a ball screw, but the computer is telling it what to do.
So the computer is telling the servo motor how to move, and keeping track, and then that's how it's moving around.
Yep. What's keeping track is the encoder. There's a lot going on in there.
Well, we're gonna go in there. Why don't you show Matt how to run the CNC?
Oh, okay.
Literally, like he's an employee, day one.
I could do it.
We could try that, and actually we got Josh walking out right now.
Heyo.
Come on back when you're done. You're our resident expert in CNCs. And I think Matt basically wants a tour of how do they work. We could talk about suction on machines like this. It's vacuum. And so you can actually see gaskets here. The CNC department designs all of their jigs on a 2x5 footprint. And so all of the jigs fit around this gasket. We could pick one up over here. So this is one of the products we make. And the way that it works is the jig, and Josh, we can actually load that on the machine potentially.
We bring this over to the machine.
Yeah.
So you locate with pins. So we're always in the same location. They line up. The gasket underneath seals to the bottom of this jig, and then this gasket will seal to the parts. We use a full blank, and when we cut it out, it'll be the same size as this part, and the vacuum will hold the part in location.
Yep. So every jig is set in the exact same location, so that when you do your modeling and coding, you base everything off an origin, essentially.
Right.
The only one note about this machine, if you care, it's got 2 sets of router heads. So you can process 2 jigs at once. The next step up from there is the orange machine, which is the one that Josh is going to show you how to run. So it's got 2 beds that move back and forth. So while one is loaded and cutting, you load the other one, and once this program's done, it'll swap. Start cutting this one, you load this one. This also has 2 spindles, 2 parallel beds. So you can see that little carousel right there. I believe this machine holds 8 tools.
10.
8 or 10.
This one's our 10 board.
10
that
tools.
one's also 10, and the other 3 are 8.
Gotcha. So you can design an operation to use at maximum 10 tools.
Right.
Nicole's just starting her alpha tests. So she's running a couple of them, diligently checking the specs on the spec sheet, making adjustments if necessary, and then we're gonna run this whole pallet.
Basically, first thing we do is take our board, we gotta look at which side we want our top and our bottom of our toppers. We always do the pretty side top, which ends up being our bottom.
We run them upside down.
Okay.
This side's got some spotting, and this side looks real bad. It's got some. So this would be our top.
And then the next thing he's gonna do is make sure that they're positioned accordingly on the jig.
We're using these nubs, and you just bring it over and you would line it up, and then you would have to shoot down trying to line up the nub on the other side. I do it, I've been doing it a while. We're trying to train someone new, trying to get their keen eye. It's not always that great, so we came up with these. It's very simple. Just slide it over, hold it in, slide it up.
So they reference the bottom of this, and they make sure that they push the top of the
Now everyone can line it up the same way. Now it's in place, and you quickly move over to the next one. Now that one's in place. A lot faster than just trying to line it up by eye.
Yeah.
Turn our vacuum on. Give it a moment. Now once you turn the vacuum on and it's all the way up to where it needs to be,
Yeah.
you ain't pulling these off. They're not moving. And then you hit our next button, and now it's gonna run. And now this jig is raised for the bevel cutter that we're gonna see here. And it's actually gonna cut the underside.
This is machining the other side where the groove is on the topper.
So after this cut, the machine's gonna stop, move up, move back. The table's gonna come forward, and then it's gonna come over to this one. This one's gonna start like almost immediately afterwards. Typically, while that's going, I come over.
It automatically releases vacuum.
Oh.
Now on the milling, where you guys left off last time, the milling spec sheets, those are often pretty simple. When we get to something like this, they're much more detailed. So we're checking very specific things, and we make specific gauges to check some of those things. So Josh is checking, you know, the height of the bevel where it starts. We have a little gauge, and it needs to be within that scribed or machined red line.
The height from here to within there.
So what if you do if it's not within that line? Is
You
there
make adjustments. When we first came over here, Nicole ran her first 2 programs and checked these, and you can see actually on her first check, she said, nope, that measurement's incorrect, that measurement's incorrect, and so are those 2. So she'll actually come over here and make adjustments or offsets that bring these in spec. She'll run another 2, the ones that Josh just ran, and we'll make adjustments until we're completing this spec check, and the toppers are wholly in spec.
Got it.
Did you learn anything?
I'm getting there.
I left. It's loud. Okay, I'm leaving again.
So we sort of graduated from 1 bed, 1 spindle, 1 bed, 2 spindles. You move over here, 2 beds, 2 spindles. The next machine we'll probably briefly talk about is the Como over there. That is also parallel processing, 4 spindles. You can see on this one we have 4 locations for those 2x5 jigs that we standardize. We use this machine a lot, less lately, but when we were doing heavy GM screen production,
Right.
we would line up, I don't know, 16 per bed.
Yes.
Was that it?
Yep.
We're gonna talk about tool holders and our organization system.
There's so many
Yes.
bits.
There's a lot of bits. There's a specific system for knowing what you need to load in the machine. Can you talk a little bit about that?
First thing you do is you'll get a job paper and you
Yeah.
figure out what we're running. Say we're running GM screens. On here we'll tell you the required jig and then also all the tooling that's needed here. And as you can see, this matches this design over here. Because this is 4 spindles, the lead spindle runs the program. The other 3 are slaves to it. They just follow. Each row is for 1 spindle. So if we need an L3, here's all 4 L3s that are needed. And they're all set within 2 thou of each other.
Gotcha.
Everything's set from here to the top of the tool.
We have specific tools that help us set the height of the tools across multiple tool holders accordingly.
So we actually have 3 different types of tool holders. We have our standard collet. So it's got a cap, a collet that holds the tool, and the base. And what the collet basically looks like is it's tapered. So it's actually got an angle to it. When you sit here and you're putting it in and you turn the cap on, it presses it down and it closes up the collet. Then we have a hydro collet and a hydro grip. It's got hydraulic fluid in there. And when you tighten it up, it actually closes on the tooling And it's actually a lot more accurate and runs a lot truer than one of these. When you go to tighten this up, this tool will stay in the same spot that you set it to as you tighten it up. When you tighten this up, the collet tends to compress and pull in, so the tool height tends to change a little bit. Now this one is basically the same thing, but it doesn't use hydraulic fluid. This actually uses a, I guess you call it a vice system. And basically when you put it in, you tighten this up, and as you add pressure, it's like a pump. It's basically crushing the collet, kind of like deforming it. And it's opening up the hole on the inside here. So these are very nice sharp tools that we have to handle with care.
Tiny.
They're like razor blades.
Yeah.
So as you can see right now, if I try to take this tool and try to fit it in there, it looks like it will go, but it actually won't fit in.
It's impossible.
So if we put this back in here, there you go.
And so you're basically pressurizing that so that it expands, right?
Yep.
When you release pressure, then it drifts.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So right there,
That's so weird.
I can slide that in now. Basically what this does is let us set the height of our tool. And that way we can repeat with each tool that's set up over here.
Right.
And then we would set this to 0. And then if we had another tool, we would set that one to the same number.
Right.
And we just slide it back and forth until it's at 0, release the pressure, and now this tool will not come out at all. But as soon as I add the pressure back, it's usually around 300, boom, I can move it freely.
Pretty cool.
Science, man.
Real, it's magic.
Crazy.
I don't understand it. It's
It
magic.
doesn't make any sense to me at
I
all.
don't either.
I feel like people love this when they see it. We do have a hot wax station to protect all the tools, because a lot of our tools are made out of solid carbide, which
So now it's all nice and covered.
Yep.
And I can touch this all I want.
Yeah,
And it
so
won't cut me.
You'll just heat it up, dip it in there.
You dip it in,
It'll-
pull it out. Don't touch it right away because it's extremely hot.
Right.
Let it cool off, and after it's all done, you can touch this all you want. You won't get caught.
Nice.
Yep. Then we can throw them in a bin and not really care, have to care about, being extremely careful with them.
Great.
Cool. Hey, thanks, Josh. Appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Good stuff.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Have fun.
Thank you. M&T?
M&T, which is also a CNC machine. It is
Right.
driven by computer numerical controls.
What is M&T?
Mortise and tenon.
What is a mortise and what is a tenon?
A mortise and tenon is a fundamental woodworking principle and joinery method. A mortise is a hole, a tenon is a shaft, basically. Now, they're not always circular. That's sort of a more standard shape for a tenon. So the M&T is designed for making mortise and tenons, essentially. This is the first M&T machine that we got. So this machine in particular, you have a zone 1 that references this fence, a zone 2 that references this fence, zone 3, and zone 4. And there's 5 cutters in this machine. It'll face this, it'll cut the tenon and drill the holes. So this has a series of hold downs, and you can change them out. They're actually held in there magnetically. So if you're running something thinner, you can actually put a larger or a longer hold down in there. When you run a zone, you have to start them independently. You'll hit zone 1, and your work holders will come down, hold your work solid, and then it'll start doing the cutting.
Right.
And so that's all pneumatically powered. In its name, this is a molder meant to make molding. These machines are sort of designed to do that type of thing. A lot of lumber mills, probably the way that they machine 2x4s, it's a 4-headed planer. So you basically have a head on the bottom, the top, and both sides. And so in a really simple form, you would just have heads that are cutting dimensional lumber into rectangles. When you're not doing like S4S surface stuff, you can do interesting shapes. Now this machine, a little more complicated than a 4-head, this is 6 heads. So in this particular head, which is meant to accept these types of knives, which are high-speed steel knives, you can order them in a variety of geometry and profiles. But as linear feet of wood come through here, it's going to machine that profile in that. We have a lot of different profiles, a lot of different knives.
You basically combine them and orient them in all different ways to make a certain shape.
Yes.
Design, whatever.
What you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And because it is complicated, you need to think about what's the orientation of the piece coming in, what heads are going to cut what. Some shapes are a lot trickier than other shapes. Compared to some of the other machines that we looked at over there, this machine is almost wholly manual. So all of the adjustments that you're making with these series of adjusters. And you can see all of them have indicators.
Are those thousandths of an inch? Is that what those numbers are?
Yes. This is quite a bit faster than doing something on a CNC. In certain applications, this is the ideal machine to do linear lengths of things. So yeah.
All right.
How'd I do?
I think you did pretty good.
Nice, nice, nice.
I'm gonna go find Doug.
Yeah, where the fuck did he go?
I don't know.
Oh, I forgot.